It's Wednesday, so it's time for the word of the week. The word of the week this week is F.O.M.O. F.O.M.O is a contract verb. How do we know that? Because at the end of the stem there's a vowel, and it has an apostrophe here. It's not an accent, it's an apostrophe, giving us a pause between it and the ending. F.O.M.O, I silence or I muzzle. The uses of this word in the New Testament are largely in the passive voice, and in the passive it is be silent or be muzzled, or even sort of muzzle yourself. So it's silent in the context of being muzzled, of having your mouth shut, like forcibly shut. So let's start out with our first example in Mark chapter 1, verse 25. We're going to read 24 and 25 so we have the context. And this is Jesus casting out a demon from a man who is possessed. What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God. But Jesus rebuked him, saying, be silent and come out of him. And be silent here is phimotheti. So this is an imperative that's passive. Be silent. Not silence yourself, but be silent, because it's a passive verb. Be silent and come out of him. So there you have the notion of, be muzzled, shut up, stop talking, no more out of you, come out of that man, set that man free. Next, we're going to look at the parable of the wedding feast, where a rich man throws a wedding feast. He provides for people to come to the wedding, and he even provides them garments to wear. But a guy shows up at the wedding without the proper garment that was already provided for him. He could have been shrouded in glory at the wedding feast thrower's expense, but he decided not to. So let's look at what's said there in Matthew 22, verses 11 through 12. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. F.O.M.O, he was silent, he was speechless. We could even say he was muzzled by what? By the circumstances. Here he is making the decision to not accept the shiny white garment that was provided for him, but to come in his own gear. And the circumstances of his choice, of the decision that he made, muzzles him, prevents him from giving an explanation. There is no explanation. You offered me a bright shining robe. Perhaps one might analogize a robe of righteousness, but I decided to come here on my own merits, and therefore I have nothing to say. I'm muzzled by my choice and by my circumstance. We're going to end with my favorite use of this word. It's in Mark chapter 4, verse 39. Let's first read the verse, and then I want to look at the phrase in Koine. This is the story of Jesus asleep in the boat as they're crossing the Sea of Galilee, and a terrible storm rises up, and the disciples who are with him are scared to death. And we pick it up in verse 39. And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. So I want you to notice, he rebuked not one thing but two things. He rebuked the wind, and then he spoke to the sea. First, peace. Secondly, be still. Let's look at the two words in Koine. Siopa. Siopa is be quiet, be silent, peace, like stop this ruckus. To the wind, right? Because it said first he rebuked the wind. Silent wind. Next, pefimoso, which is another imperative, but this is an interesting imperative. This is one of those rare perfect tense imperatives. And it's from our word of the week. You can see the F.O.M.O in there. Pefimoso, Be muzzled and stay muzzled, because it's perfect tense. It's an action that happens with an ongoing consequence. Be muzzled and stay muzzled. It's not be still. It has nothing to do with your physical actions. The word F.O.M.O is about being silenced or being muzzled. So here he says to the wind, be quiet, be calm, be at peace. And then he says to the sea, be muzzled, stop your raging. Now, have you ever seen whitecaps? Whitecaps are the result of strong wind over the water. The water is being pushed by the wind, and it makes a series of small, what aren't genuinely waves, because it's not a movement of the whole water. It's just the wind pushing the top of the water. And in certain circumstances, it almost looks like a string of teeth. It looks like the water has fangs being bared when there are whitecaps on the water. So here we have a raging storm. There's a driving wind, animus, that's blowing across the sea. And Jesus says to the winds, shut up, be calm, be at peace. And to the sea, be muzzled. Put your teeth away. You're not going to consume these men in this boat tonight. That's not going to happen. I adore that word choice. Because if the wind is raging, there will no doubt be whitecaps, and whitecaps can look like the Sea of Galilee is baring its teeth, and Jesus tells it to be muzzled. You shall not consume these men tonight. Fantastic. Magnificent. What's our word of the week? F.O.M.O. I silence or I muzzle. But in the New Testament, almost always in the passive, be silenced, be quiet, be muzzled. Shut it. Great stuff. Thanks for watching. I hope you were interested in it. If you were, share it with somebody else. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, Karis Kairene Humin, grace and peace to you.